Harry, London.
Meghan Markle here.
Today is October 17th, 2024. It is 1:37 a.m. I do not have any list for you guys. I went on Twitter to search for whatever, and the majority of the thing that I see are things about Charles going to Australia. So I saw the hashtag she's done trending. There it is here on the side. I'll share it with you. I don't usually show that side of the screen. Saying that she's done, and I was like, who they talking about? That's how you usually know what Twitter is usually talking about. So apparently Kamala Harris went to Fox News to talk to someone named Bret something. What is it? Bret Baier. So this is pretty much what's going on. A lot of tweet about Kamala Harris. So let's see. I'm gonna pause for a second to look at the longest. This one is going Trump talking to Latino people, and there's this one 38 seconds. There's this one 1 minute and 45. I want to see which one is a bit longer, so I could just play it once and then maybe just run through this. I do not have any list. Let me pause for a second. Actually, before I pause, let's just look at the background of this channel. Okay, 4,452 subscribers, new subscribers. Welcome. Last night when I was watching TV and I checked my phone, it shows that it's $100.75. I was like, oh, it finally reached $100. So I was kind of happy, but who knows? It might go down again. All right, so analytics, 1,378 views in the last 48 hours. So I'm going to pause, go on Twitter, and then I'll see what I could share with you. But this video is going to be mostly about politics, it seems like. Depend on how fast I finish with this video, and then I'll go look for whatever the squad are talking about. All right. I have 6 tweets to share with you for this video. And the first one is a commercial. And let's get going. This is the first one. I promise Amber's family that she will not be just a statistic. We will speak her name. Nothing can undo or heal the incredible pain Shanette, CJ, and Andrika have endured, but we can do everything in our power to restore reproductive freedom and get rid of Trump's abortion bans to ensure preventable death like hers never happens again. And the thing is that, all right, people need to understand, in order for her to make this happen is for the Senate and the House to be in full agreement, and then for the bill to be sent to her and for her to sign it. She cannot just automatically make that happen. The only thing I feel like she can do, maybe, I don't even think she can do that, what I'm thinking. Nah, she can't do that, is to say to put something out where she will pardon any doctors who are put in any position, like what's her name, Amber's, from my understanding, she was pregnant. They saw that what was going on could be removed, but because the doctors did not want to be arrested, so they pretty much just watch her die. So the only thing I feel like she could do is say to any doctors, I will pardon you if you are put in the same situation. But the rest needs to be done by Congress. Congress has to do it. And this is why many people are telling you guys, those who are not aware, when you're voting, vote down the ballot for only Democrats, because this is the ticket that stands with her and that are in same alignment. Okay, let's look at the commercial, and then I'll go to the thread that I found that she did the interview at Fox. I'm gonna put blur because I see other channels share videos like this without any consequences, but for me, YouTube always find my channel when I share a video with you. Even though I'm commenting on it, they still punish me for it. So I'm gonna put the blur on top of it for safekeeping. If they decided to come after me for it, either I will cut it or I don't know. All right, so let's watch. No, it's 1 minute.
My daughter Amber made me so proud.
She was having complications.
And
tonight we are learning more about the death of Amber Thurman.
The death of Amber Thurman was likely preventable if she'd had access to abortion care in her home state of Georgia.
what happened to her was preventable. My daughter is gone because of what Donald Trump did.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it.
It's nothing good enough to bring her back. Her life is over.
I've never been a political person. Never. I'm voting for Kamala Harris because she showed me she really cared. I felt her sincerity, and I felt her strength.
We will speak her name, Amber Nicole Thurman.
I felt her compassion. We will never get Amber back, but we can make sure this never happens again.
Okay, so that's that. Let's go to the next tweet. This is the interview that Kamala did on Fox, and I think it's a thread. Oops, what the hell happened? What happened? Okay, it starts up here. Yeah, so I found a thread that shares it. Okay, I'm going to put together a thread covering Kamala Harris' Fox News interview with Bret Baier. Follow along for clips and commentary. Alright, so what is that? Okay, so this is a screenshot. Bret Baier's first question to Kamala Harris presses her undocumented immigration. Baier barely lets her get a word in. Alright, so this one is 3 minutes and 15 seconds. I'm sorry, maybe I'll take one of the images and then put it throughout the interview. All right.
Tell pollsters all over the country and here in Pennsylvania that immigration is one of the key issues that they're looking at this election, and specifically the influx of illegal immigrants from more than 150 countries. How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but do you, just a number, do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Bret, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have
it's a rough estimate of 6
Wow.
million people
that
have been
needs to be-
released into the country. And let me just finish, and I'll get to the question, I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into
Wow.
office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that
Before I continue, this came to mind. At the beginning of her being the nominee, she withheld herself from being interviewed by mainstream media, and I've spoken about it many times on my video. Then later, little at a time, she inched in. She did CNN, she did MSNBC, she did what's the other one? 60 Minutes. Okay, not all at once, a little bit at a time, maybe a week or 2 weeks in between. At the beginning, I felt like she wanted people, the people who's gonna vote for her, to know her, by going to rallies, making a lot of rallies. Before she did the CNN interview, which was the first interview she did a lot of rallies. And I think not only she took a page from Harry and Meghan's book to avoid mainstream media, she didn't give them an ounce of anything for a soundbite for them to use against her. She went to the people, let the people hear for themselves before they start hearing sound bites. And then that's when she started doing mainstream medias a little bit at a time. And now I believe this is the fourth one. CNN, MSNBC, what was the other one that I said? 60 Minutes, and this one. With facts, this is the fourth one. Okay? So, yeah, that crossed my mind. If I don't say it now, by the end of that video, I will not remember. Okay? I'm moving it back. Well, he was interrupting her anyway, so let me just continue from where I left off.
Required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate?
When you look at, I know I stopped right in between, many of you are gonna be pissed. When you look at many crimes that are being committed right now in the U.S., a lot of white men are committing, especially if you go on, what's that network? Crime something network on YouTube. You keep on seeing different trial or different topics of crimes that are being committed by a lot of white men. And one of the things that I've said during Trump first thing that he did when he became president, he started doing those things. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. If there are gangs and all of that, it's good to put them down, but not for the reason we will think. Okay, he's doing it for himself. That way, for instance, you got the January 6th or anything that he planned on doing. You know, if he becomes elected now, these Hispanic, black, you name it, any gangs within a community that are not white are no longer there. That way, his people could go in and do what needs to be done. So there won't be any resistance from these men. This is the reason why he did it. But it's good to clear off any bad person. But when you're looking at people, he planned to be the one who's gonna commit the crimes. We've seen January 6th. We've seen, let's put allegedly, because he's not convicted on this aspect yet in the court of law. So this is why I'm putting allegedly. But we see the tactic that he plans on doing. All right, so for this one, I'm going to move it back because I stopped in between.
Included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the CHIPS and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act.
So these are all what she's listing now. These are things that the Biden administration have already signed into law that are being implemented. Okay, so she's saying before all of that, now she's gonna say whatever it is that they try to do.
The first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act.
But let her talk.
21. It was essentially a pathway to citizenship.
Wow. He's not letting her speak. He just wants to put his talking point out there for the voters. He's not letting her answer. Oh my God. But let's continue.
Please finish.
Yes,
May
ma'am.
I finish responding, please?
But
you have to let me finish.
You have
Good.
the White House and the House and the Senate,
I'm
and they
in the
didn't bring
middle
up
of
that bill.
responding to the point you're raising,
Okay.
and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. And from day one then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That
I think she was getting to the point where Donald Trump decided to make those Congress people to kill the bill. I think that's what she was getting to. And then that guy who raised the question didn't want her to get to that point. Okay, let's pause. Okay, Baier is really going for blood here. Harris does a nice job standing her ground. Okay, 2 minutes and 26 seconds.
To the trafficking of drugs, guns, and human beings. And Donald Trump, but let me just finish. And Donald
Yep,
Trump
that's the
learned about that bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And in this election, this is rightly a discussion that the American people want to have. And what they want are solutions, and they want a president of the United States who's not playing political games with the issue,
I hear you.
but actually is focused on fixing
Six
it.
Democrats voted against that bill.
The thing I don't understand, these are probably people he has things on to do his bidding in the Congress. That should be something they should, but then again, to tell you the truth, I was thinking they should punish Trump for that. But then again, people voted for these people, the senators, to do the job. Why are they listening to one man? They are the problem, not Trump. They are the problem. Why they didn't do the job for the people who voted for them? I was going to say, they should do something to Trump for, doing all of this. But the main thing is, these grown adults who run for the office to represent their constituent, they didn't do it. Instead, they're focusing on Donald Trump. But anyway, let's continue that.
Would have allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants into the country a year. A lot of conservatives had a problem with it. These are the 6 Democrats. But more importantly, back to the original premise, Jocelyn Nungari, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, they are young women who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration, well before a negotiated bipartisan bill. Former President Clinton actually referred to Laken Riley Sunday campaigning for you in Georgia, saying if those men had been properly vetted, Laken Riley probably would not have been killed.
Since he is raising the death of these women due to immigration kind of thing, the same can be said about women that are being denied lack of health care due to lack of abortion, because Roe versus Wade was overturned. So the same thing can apply to Trump killing women as well. Okay? Not just the border bill. That didn't pass. Okay? So that just crossed my mind.
So if it wouldn't have happened, this is well before any negotiation. This is well before Donald Trump got involved in the politics. This is a specific policy decision by your administration.
Before Trump got into politics? When did... Okay, I'm sort of aware of these people he mentioned, but before Trump got into politics, when did they die? Okay, we need to understand from 2016 on, and when the people died, those 3 people they mentioned, before Trump got into politics. But anyway, but then Biden was not the president, if that's what he's talking about, before Trump got into politics. But okay, maybe I'm missing something. Let's continue.
Into the country. So what I'm saying to you, do you owe
Bret,
those families an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that. There's no question about that. And I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced for a loss that should not have occurred. So that is true. It is also true that if a border security had actually been passed 9 months ago, it would be 9 months that we would have had more border agents at the border, more support for the folks who are working around the clock trying to hold it all together.
Madam Vice President.
To ensure that no future harm would occur. And this election in 20 days will determine whether we have a president of the United States who actually cares more about fixing a problem, even if it is not to their political advantage in an election, because there was a solution, Bret.
That's the thing. There was a solution for it, but anyway, let's see here. The first 10 minutes of Baier interview are him just trying to score gotcha on Harris on immigration. 55 seconds.
There's a lot of people that look back at what you said in 2019 when you first ran for president. And there have been changes, and you've talked about some of them. When it comes to immigration, you supported allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for driver's license, to qualify for free tuition at universities, to be enrolled in free health care. Do you still support those things?
Listen, that was 5 years ago, and I'm very clear that I will follow the law. I have made that statement over and over again, and as Vice President of the United States, that's exactly what I've done, not to mention before.
If that's the case, you chose a running mate, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who signed those very things into state law. So do you support that?
We are very clear, and I am very clear, as is Tim Walz, that we must support and enforce federal law, and that is exactly what we will do.
There's a lot of people that
Okay, it's playing over. Okay, let's pause that. After grilling Harris for more than 10 minutes about immigration, Baier pivots to playing a transphobic Trump's campaign ad for her and asking her to respond. Harris says, quote, he actually has no plan in this election that is about focusing on the needs of the American people. Okay, 2 minutes and 41 seconds.
This is a time when voters, especially here in Pennsylvania, are inundated with commercials and ads. They just want it to stop because it's every commercial. But many of them add noise, but a few of them seem to break through. This particular one from the Trump campaign has gotten a lot of attention.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
So
why didn't they finish
the
thing?
Support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law, and it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed. You're probably familiar with, now it's a public report, that under Donald Trump's administration, these surgeries were available on a medical necessity basis to people in the federal prison system. And I think, frankly, that ad from the Trump campaign is a little bit of like throwing, stones when you're living in a glass house.
The Trump aides say that he never advocated.
The other thing I was going to say as well is that the prison system has a better health care than most people have outside of the system. Sometimes there are people who this is not something I'm advocating for, but it has happened where people who need medical care cannot have access to to health care. They commit a minor crime to be arrested so they could get that particular care. But anyway, let's continue.
Advocated for that prison policy and no gender transition surgeries
you know what, you got
happened
to take
during
responsible for what happened in your administration.
Yeah, no surgeries happened in his presidency.
It's in
so
black and white.
would you still advocate for using
So what she's saying here, during Trump administration, that happened under him as well. So she's saying if she is president, she will just follow the law on what's in the book right at the moment. Okay, so let's continue.
For gender reassignment
I will
surgeries.
follow the law. Just as I think Donald Trump would say he did.
You would have a say as president.
Like I said, I think he spent $20 million on those ads, trying to create a sense of fear in the voters because he actually has no plan in this election that is about focusing on the needs of the American people. Whereas, at $20 million on that ad, on an issue that, as it relates to the biggest issues that affect the American people, it's really quite remote. And again, his policy was no different. Look at where we are, though.
They say
On
it was
plans for the
different, but
American
we'll
people,
move on.
I'm offering a plan to deal with affordable housing. I'm offering a plan to deal with what we need to do to strengthen small businesses, which are the backbone of America's economy. I am offering a plan that is about taking care of young parents and giving them the support they need. My plans for the economy will strengthen the economy as have been reviewed by 16 Nobel laureates, Goldman Sachs, Moody's, and recently the Wall Street Journal, which have all studied our plans and have indicated my plans for our economy would strengthen our economy, his would make them weaker,
Why do you
would
think more
ignite
people
inflation and invite a recession by the middle of next year. Those are the facts.
Why do you think more people say that?
Okay. Wow, she stood her ground, like he said. Harris does a nice job landing attacks on Trump when Baier lets her complete a thought. Okay, 49 seconds.
Why do you think more people say they trust him on the economy than they trust you?
I think that when you look at an analysis of our plans for what we would do as President of the United States, it has been clear to those who study and understand how economic policy works that moving forward, because I do believe the American people are ready to turn the page on the divisiveness and the type of rhetoric that has come out of Donald Trump. People are ready to chart a new way forward, and they want a president who has a plan for the future and a plan that is sound and will strengthen our country. My plan for the economy does exactly that. His plan would be, again, to give tax cuts to billionaires and the biggest corporations in our country and blow up our deficit.
It's interesting you said turn.
Oh shit, I started all over. One of the things we should look into is Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban has been going around in a business perspective, explaining some of the things, the key issue that, people should think about before they vote between Donald Trump. Before, I guess in 2016 when Trump was running before, he supported Trump because he felt like that was a new thing, a different direction from regular politician. But as he gets to know him and see the way he runs stuff, and he had mentioned where he went to the White House and tried to spoke with Trump and all of that, he saw he was full-blown BS. And this is why sometimes I do, have a little compassion for some of the people who voted for Trump the first time, because they thought he was different. Like when Trump said he's gonna drain the swamp, but instead he is the swamp. But anyway, so he has a different perspective of things. If after this thread, I might search for Mark Cuban and see one or two. Oops, let me pause this. One or two interviews of his. All right, let me put it. It was somewhere right here. Let me put it more like here. All right, so let's listen.
Strengthen our country. My plan for the economy does exactly that. His plan would be, again, to give tax cuts to billionaires and the biggest corporations in our country and blow up our deficit.
It's interesting you said turn.
Okay, so she did finish. All right. The second one is playing. Kamala Harris on Fox News, quote, "Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency." All right, exactly a minute.
Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently?
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes in to office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. I, for example, am someone who has not spent the majority of my career in Washington, D.C. I invite ideas, whether it be from the Republicans who are supporting me, who were just on stage with me minutes ago, and the business sector, and others who can contribute to the decisions that I make about, for example, my plan for increasing the supply of housing in America and bringing down the cost of housing, addressing the issue of small businesses, which is about working with the private sector to bring more capital and access to capital to our small business leaders, including my plan for
Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump.
She's right. She's saying, I have a plan. So in order for me to make my decision finalized, I will bring other ideas. This is not a dictatorship. So she's gonna bring people who already have experience, who's in the field, who knows this stuff. This is the same thing that Harry's doing. Bring people with the same goal, the same objective to collaborate and then hear what they have to say so she could make her final decision. Okay. Wow, it's pretty long. Brer, what are you turning the page from? Harris, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we've been burdened by the kind of rhetoric from Donald Trump designed to divide our country. Okay, a minute and 1 second. And then with the last question that Kamala was listening, saying that, you know, she's not Joe Biden. Her job as a vice president is to advise the president on topic at hand, help him make proper decision and things like that. And also, I think there's some part where if the Senate need a tie break, and she's the next person to vote and break the tie and things like that, and which she has done many times during Biden's presidency. When Joe Biden wants certain things to be information to be put out to the public or whatever it may be, as a supporting vice president, she has to cater to Joe Biden's idea because he is the president. This is the line of success, command. Okay, Joe Biden first, and if something happened to him, it will be Kamala Harris. If something happened to her, then it will be the speaker, and so forth, so on. They're all line of command. So she cannot jump ahead and, you know, put her ideas while Biden is the president. All right, so let's continue.
Heard a lot about those plans in recent days. Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years, so what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we've been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers at each other. Rhetoric and an approach to leadership that suggests that the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down instead of what we all know. The strength of leadership is based on who you lift up. The strength of an American president, which is one who understands that the vast majority of us have more in common than what separates us.
Madam Vice President, more than 70% of people
that is
tell
about
pollsters,
turning the page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Bret.
More than 70% of people tell the country.
Wow, he won't let her finish. Okay, let's pause. Okay, Kamala Harris on Fox News on Trump. He's unfit to serve, he's unstable, he's dangerous, and people are exhausted. All right, let's see here.
Wrong track. They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is.
And then Trump interfering in Biden's presidency. Trump is interfering in the things that the people need to vote on. So you guys keep on skipping that part. And then the things that he put in place, it's hard to take down.
But they're saying 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for
Thank
office.
you. Thank you.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the last decade,
There it is. I didn't even hear that.
people have become...
Let her speak.
Listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president. One, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous, and that people are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and engaging in personal grievances and it being about him instead of the American people. People are tired of that.
All right, let's continue. Okay, let's pause. Baier tries to bait Harris into saying something bad about Trump supporters. Shameful stuff from him. Harris has a great response. Okay, 31 seconds.
Supposed to be a
So
cakewalk
are they misguided,
for
the
anyone.
50%?
Listen,
Are they stupid? What is it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you
Good.
listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within. An enemy
He
within.
is the enemy within.
Talking about the American people. Suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that question.
Supposed to be
Okay, it's going over. All right, that was a good response. While Kamala Harris forcefully calls out Bret Baier for playing a deceptive clip whitewashing Trump's comment about the enemy within. Okay, 1 minute and 45 seconds.
The question to the former president today, Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been
Oh my God.
investigated more than...
If you hear about Brett Kavanaugh when he nominated him to be the Supreme Court, the FBI, okay, had, I don't know, a long list of tips about Brett. And then when they bring it to him, he killed everything. They didn't do the proper vetted aspect for Brett. I don't know. If Kamala, let's just continue. Oh.
Than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
oh my God.
I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
He was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you.
That was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
He's quoted in the Bob Woodward book that way, yes. Let me ask you this, Madam Vice President.
This is someone who did her homework. She did her homework. She knows all of the clips that Trump have said in the past.
Donald Trump.
The significance of that.
Called Donald Trump.
Oh my God, is that it? Oh, good. All right, let's pause. Harris unconcerned about Biden's decline. I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump, which is why the people that knows him best have all spoken out and said he's unfit and dangerous and should never be president of the United States again, including his former vice president, which is why the job was open. For, was it J.V. Vance?
You say now
he's unstable. He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room. And he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
There were no concerns raised?
Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And Donald Trump
but
is.
You talked about it.
And Donald Trump
after George Clooney said within a few minutes of talking to President Biden at a fundraiser that he thought this was not the same Joe Biden that we saw on the debate stage.
Donald Trump is on the ballot.
I understand. You met with him at least once a week for 3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns?
I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump, which is why the people who know him best, including leaders of our national security community, have all spoken out. Even people who worked for him in the Oval Office, worked with him in the Situation Room, and have said he is unfit and dangerous and should never be president of the United States again, including his former vice president, which is why the job was open for him to choose another running mate. So that is a fact.
That is a fact.
She stood her ground. All right, let's pause. Oh my God, how long is this? Where critics said that you relaxed or failed to enforce sanctions on Iran. Harris, let's go back to Trump, who pulled out of the deal that would have actually put Iran in check, and it was under Trump that we had an American military base that was attacked. Okay, 1 minute and 27 seconds. That's knowing your facts.
Is unyielding and unwavering.
Critics just say that you either relaxed or failed to enforce sanctions on Iran, allowing...
It's not her job. She's not the president. She's not the president. Why are they saying her? This decision, this foreign decision, is for the president. Oh my God. Let's continue.
All of this money to flow into Iran, like billions.
Let's go back to Donald Trump, who pulled out of a deal that would have actually put Iran in check.
The estimates in billions.
It was during Donald Trump's
that
administration
go towards
that
the Iran regime.
That we had an American military base that was attacked, where American soldiers suffered traumatic brain injuries, and Donald Trump dismissed them as headaches. Not to mention how Donald Trump has treated and talked about America's military and military service people, calling them suckers and losers,
Hamas,
has diminished the significance.
We're talking over each other. I apologize.
I would like that we would have a conversation that is grounded in full assessment of the facts, which includes, I think this interview is supposed to be about the choices that your viewers should be presented about this election, and the contrast is important.
Yes, ma'am.
And on the subject of Iran, I am offering what should be an important contrast that is presented for folks to make a decision that they feel.
Who look at what the administration did and say and think differently. Madam Vice President, they're wrapping me very hard.
Oh my goodness. All right. That it's okay for Kamala Harris Fox News interview with Bret Baier, which mostly felt like Baier auditioned to become Trump's White House communication director. All right. Friendly reminder that if you appreciate these threads, okay, he's talking about himself here. These are some of the comments. Kamala Harris to Bret Baier trying to wash Donald Trump's threat. Not today. There's the B word. Chris Hayes just showed the full answer he actually gave, in which he doubled down on the enemy within. They straight up cut it out. Sorry, but that's the most brilliant attempt to knowingly gaslight and lie to their viewers. Fox lies. Okay, Donald Trump has threatened to use the U.S. military against domestic political opponent. This should terrify us, all of us. Yeah. All right. So one of the things that I put on the list while I was listening, let's pause this, is I want to search for Mark Cuban. This is here. Mark Cuban I put here while I was listening, and then I have these other tweets to share with you. Let me see if I find anything about Mark Cuban that is worth sharing with you, why he goes around to talk about... okay, so there's one. Let's see here. Okay, Mark Cuban underscores the absurdity of Trump's pride and short-paying vendors, because nothing says successful businessmen like leaving your partners high and dry. Okay, 57 seconds. Are there more? So there's more. So I'll show some of these with you, because he has spoken a lot. Especially the Rachel Maddow. Let's see this one.
Here's something that just astonished me. When he was going through his trials in New York for misleading on his loan forms, right? During one of the trials, Michael Cohen got up there to testify, and he testified about how Donald Trump asked him to short pay vendors. And he was proud of the fact that he did it for Mr. Trump, as he called him, right? I don't know why, but I expected, you know how he would hold a little impromptu press conference after each day of the trial? For some reason, I thought he would come out and say, no, I never asked him to short pay vendors, right? Didn't say a word about it. Probably the worst thing you could say about a business person is he short pays his vendors. He doesn't pay what he owes. That is the ultimate arbiter of trust that you have with any business person. Do they pay you when you do work for them, yes or no? He was proud of the fact, didn't question it at all. When you rip off hardworking Americans, you are not qualified to be president of the United States of America. Here's something that just...
Okay, he's coming from a business perspective. Before, in 2016, he was for Trump. Now seeing how Trump, have run the country, things that have happened, and many other things that lead afterward. This is why he changed his mind. He has a good reason. Okay? But from the beginning, many people saw. Okay, so there's another one. I posted this video earlier, not knowing he was going to be on, but here's Mark Cuban on Fox News. Okay, this one is close to 2 minutes.
Mark, you argue that, and it's always good to have you, you argue that Donald Trump's are particularly, I think you used the word insane. What did you mean by that?
Yep.
He's like, yep.
Well, first of all, strategic tariffs aren't bad. So if a company's trying to dump, or a country's trying to dump in the United States and we have a manufacturer there, tariff them, that's great. But across the board, tariffs, 10 or 20% is just inflationary. It's a tax on the American consumer. But to make matters even worse, and what's truly insane, when you threaten a legendary company like John Deere with a 200% tariff if they move, but only a 10 or 20% tariff on China, what you're doing is you're making it easy for the Chinese competitors to take business away from John Deere. That is the definition of insane.
A lot of your business colleagues say the definition of insane is supporting Kamala Harris, yet you do. You're a smart, savvy businessman. You came from nothing to be a multi-billionaire, so you're pretty good at what you do. What do you see in her that you don't see in Donald Trump?
I think she's thorough. If you look at Donald, right, when he talks about his policies, they're very impetuous, they're impulsive, they're set to match whatever's happening at a rally. Whereas with the Harris campaign and Kamala herself, she's very, very thorough. She's very precise. Her team really vets every idea. And to me, that's important as a business person because you can trust what she says. Think about what happens when Donald comes out and says, I'm going to put a 10% cap on credit card interest rates. The next thing that happens isn't that he explains why, it's that everybody around him explains what he says. He can't explain it for himself. Everybody's got to explain for him. Or whether it's a 10 or 20 or 60% tariff, or the 200% on John Deere. With Kamala Harris, no one has to explain for her. She takes the time to vet her policies thoroughly. And when she says them and presents them, they are what they are. They're self-explanatory.
Donald Trump himself has said, if she gets in and has her way, the markets are going to tank. What do you say?
No, obviously.
Okay, so that's that. This is another one. After this one, that's it. And then I will stop this video and then I'll do another video to continue the rest. Okay, so let's finish this one with Mark Cuban on Rachel Maddow. Watch. What do you make of Trump's crypto venture? Mark Cuban, he literally can't run his own business. Rachel Maddow interview Mark Cuban. Okay, 1 minute and 12 seconds.
What do you make of his crypto venture? I mean, I saw headlines about it when he first announced it. I saw the rollout was ridiculous. But the more I looked into it, I mean, here's one of my favorite details of the whole thing. This is reported in the New York Times. He met these guys, including the ex-con and the pickup artist guy, through a real estate billionaire guy who he knows. And that guy's crypto savvy was such that he called a meme coin a meme coin. And that's the level of expertise that he was tapping to set up his company. Come on.
It's all crazy. I mean, the only reason you sell cologne, you sell commemorative coins, you sell sneakers, and you put together this DeFi project is because you need the money. You know, you have to, and that's the insanity of it all. People trying to look at him as a good business person when he literally can't run his own businesses. You don't hear stories about his overwhelming success in any businesses that, outside of real estate, and even those were questioned. I don't see how people really support him as a business person.
All right, so Mark Cuban gave him a chance 2016, but he ended up okay. Let's see here. That's that. What is this one here? Him. Okay, so there's another one here. Okay, let's see here. Mark effing Cuban gives Vivid the fact base. There's the B word slap he needs. All right. So this one is longer. What is this one? Oh my God. He's everywhere. He's literally making the point why people should not vote. I think the reason why he's going on all around talking about the business aspect for Trump, because there are a lot of business people who feel like Trump is the one who will give them more tax cut. But in the long run, when you look at things, and his second presidency will even be worse because he wants to be dictatorship. When you look at Putin, for instance, if he needs money and you have the money, he'll create something and take your money. So these are the things that people need to understand with that type of government. But Mark Cuban is going around for the business people to know that, look, if Trump get in office, things may not be as sunshine as it may be. All right, so to give them a perspective from a business point of view. So let's listen to this. Wow, this one is longer, 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
It's ethics. The man told Mike Pence not to certify the election. The man called the Secretary of State, or was it governor? I forget, and asked for 11,072
Secretary
votes.
of State, Georgia.
The man has stolen from more hardworking Americans.
You were against Trump in
than
2016, though. You were against Trump in 2016.
Right, but he was unethical then, and he's still unethical.
And in 20, right.
That's right, but that's the whole point. I actually started off supporting Donald, and then I got to know him better.
When did you support him?
That's the thing.
Like 2015.
Okay, that's the thing. He got to know him. This is why he changed his mind.
Like, he's great. He's he's not a typical Stepford candidate. I thought that was a positive.
I would think that's a positive, right? A business guy who's pretty practical.
But then I got to know
not
him.
Ideological.
Then I got to Trump University, Trump Soho, stole $4 million from a friend of mine that had sued to get it back. Mike Pence, 40 out of 44 people.
Just take a look at the 4 years, because each of these are just going to be separate sort of personal attack rabbit holes. Look at the country in those 4 years.
No, they're not personal attack rabbit holes. They're legitimate things that actually happen.
So do you think do you think the economy prospered and border crossing issues were far better under Donald Trump under those 4 years than they've been in the last 4 years? You disagree on that premise too.
No, because if you look at border crossing, what was Obama's nickname? The deporter in chief. If you look at actual crossings, they were lower under Obama, and when Obama came in, they were higher, and he continued to lower them until the last couple months. On the economy, Obama took a fucked up economy and improved it, and Trump inherited that, right? And actually, inflation grew by 25% under Trump over Obama. The one certainty about the office of the President of the United States is the complete uncertainty.
That's the
part
here.
You have no idea what comes next. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, and so in my mind, and I think a lot of people's minds that oppose Donald Trump, is that you want somebody there that is educated on the world, but more importantly, just is ethical.
That's the thing.
So that they make ethical decisions. You want somebody when there is no precedent, it's never happened before. You want somebody that has hired not people who are most loyal, like Tony Soprano might have done, but hired the very best people. And those people want to stay and work for them, not that they're loyal. You want somebody whose first inclination is not to do what's in their own best personal interest.
So
right?
Can I just
you can't deny that's Donald Trump. It's just like
that's the thing. This is what I was saying about Mark Cuban, why he changed his mind. Okay, let's listen to him one more time. There's another one here. Is that a thread? Let me see if this is a thread. Okay, what is that? Exactly. All right, so come on, go back. What the hell? All right, so let's listen to this one. Okay, this one is repeating. All right, so that's that. Okay, Mark Cuban on CNBC. Donald Trump is trying to come in with the hammer and say, quote, I'm going to hit you with a 200% tariff. John Deere, Kamala Harris is saying, I'm going to give you incentive to manufacture more. Which do you think is going to work better with companies? Okay, this one is only 52 seconds. He knows his stuff. This is why he's going around and talk about the business aspect, when it comes to the election this time around.
But to your point, right, what is it, 75% of manufacturers have under 20 employees, right? There's like 4,000 companies that have more than 5 manufacturing companies. Donald Trump is trying to come in with a hammer and say, you're the nail. I'm going to hit you with a 200% tariff, John Deere. Kamala Harris is saying, I'm going to give you incentives to manufacture more. Which do you think is going to work better with companies? Do you want to be underneath a hammer? Because when you put a 200% tariff on John Deere and only a 10 or 20% tariff on their Chinese competitors, their Chinese competitors are now less expensive than John Deere. And it's not so easy. We saw what happened with Carrier, right? When in 2016, they said, if you move down, we're going to tax you more, 35% tariff back then. And what Carrier did, they just gamed the system, right? They just fired different employees.
But to your
all right,
point,
so
right?
that's that.
What is it, 70?
All right, so I'm gonna continue in the next videos. So I stop at Mark Cuban. So different little clips on Mark Cuban. The next one I'm gonna do will be oath of office, and we're gonna start with this. All right, so let's pause here. Please take a moment to subscribe. This is a video I was uploading. Please take a moment to subscribe, like, and share. If you want to support this channel, there's a PayPal link and a Cash App link in the description. You could donate. Those who have donated, thank you. And if you could become a member, I will appreciate it. My members, I appreciate your support. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for part 2.
It is a great privilege to be with all of you today.
You know, we ask for forgiveness and please come back.
As you saw me find the love and happiness that I'd hoped for all my life.
You are all in this together, and if I may speak personally, we are all in this together, because asking for help was one of the best decisions that I ever made. You will be continually amazed how life changes for the better.